welcome to the Hearties Hotline. I am Cammie, the Hooked Heartie, and you all know my lovely co-host.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah, the Hawk-eyed Heartie.
And today we will be talking about Season 10, Episode 5, Life is But a Dream. And you know, it used to be just a dream that I would turn 40, but today, on the day that we are recording, I've been 40 for a week now. Ah!
Wow. Just speaking of how time flies, I just took my oldest to school.
Yes.
First day of school in my area, which I know is different around the country, different
Very
times.
different.
Very different. But so first day of school, and this is her last year of middle school. Next year, I'm gonna have a high school. It's crazy.
Oh my gosh, time is flying.
Yeah.
And all four of my kids are in real school. My youngest is a kindergartner. No more preschool. Yeah. So,
Just crazy, 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 crazy.
All right. But moving on, let's talk about the episode. All right. I was going to save this for, in the middle or juicy stuff at the end, but let's just
get to it.
out. Yeah.
Get to it.
Let's just do it right from the get-go. All right. Lucas and Elizabeth, their whole house conversation. There are a lot of feelings.
There's a lot of feelings. So number one, I want to say in previews and sneak peeks and all of that, I was really, really nervous this was going to be a lot more drawn out, potentially even in multiple episodes, that he was going to have this like secret that he thought it was great to surprise her with. So I'm like so glad that it was a very short-lived secret.
Yes.
Because if anything, he really has learned, like, yeah, I mean, clearly not all the way, but
no,
like,
but he's been a bachelor a long time.
You got it. And exactly that, I think, that's the perfect point. That is the perfect point. Yeah. He has been single a very long time. He hasn't really had, to our knowledge, this is probably his first real serious relationship.
Probably.
And so he is definitely looking at things differently than someone like her who was in a very serious relationship before, was married before.
I was about to say, not just a serious relationship, she was married.
Well, no, but I mean, yeah, she's been through a lot of that initial, like, how do we communicate stuff with someone else before. So she has a better bearing on communication in a relationship. And not that I don't think he's being disrespectful or anything like that. It's very much I think this is a great idea to surprise her. And I love that other people were reminding him too, not a good idea. Not a good idea, man.
Oh my goodness. That scene when they're playing cards.
Yes, Hickam and Bill,
Does she want that? That sounds like trouble. Just off the cuff.
Yes.
Off the cuff. Even Mike, who we don't, as to our knowledge, has never had a serious relationship. Even he
knows that's not okay. You don't do that. You don't do that.
That sounds like trouble.
So I think that's the key thing that I want to try to remind myself, if you're getting a little frustrated with the situation, is like, he doesn't have that level of experience. And if you look at it from his perspective, it does seem very sweet. He wants to, and he's making it playful and sweet, and I'll build you a castle, my queen, and like using her son's drawing as inspiration to have this discussion, and like, so sweet. Just adorable, and totally valid for him to have that wish, because there is that aspect. If you look at it from the really serious standpoint, she lived in this house with Jack. That
you read my mind. This is why we're such good friends. Keep going.
That was their bedroom, their bed. Like, that, I can totally see the aspect of, I'd really like us to have a place of our own, or make it our own. And maybe that's where they can go with it, is like, how can we make this house our home? Can we get some new furniture, redecorate? Maybe
Add an
even
extra
add
room or
on.
two.
Maybe even add on. There's definitely room.
Did
You
we
could
just say
build
that at
into
the
the
same time?
backyard. I think we did.
Oh my.
And so I mean, there's so much potential to be like, okay, and is there anything that we could do, you know, that might meet in the middle, that might be a compromise? So hopefully, and I do think this is an ongoing storyline, obviously, of the season, is them finding ways to merge their life together. And I
Figuring
think that's
things out.
and I think that's been said. This was very much alluded to, that this season was not all, you know, roses and unicorns. This was going to be them trying to find their footing as a couple. And that is a completely normal phase for a relationship to go through.
Yeah.
They've had, you know, there's the honeymoon, and not honeymoon because they're not married yet, but there's the honeymoon phase of a relationship where you're getting to know each other and it's all happy. And then it gets real and you have to go through those discussions of how do we take our individual lives and merge them together. And it's not ever going to go perfectly, and it's not ever going to go exactly the way one person thinks it's going to go. There's going to need to be compromise.
Right. Yeah. I hold probably a very unpopular opinion. They're both wrong.
I would kind of go with that too. They both have
you kind of said it.
They both have aspects of being right.
Yeah.
They're both coming from a really normal, understandable position.
Yeah. So they both have aspects of being right. I feel like I'm quoting Ninja Turtles. My husband and I do this all the time. He's right. He's right. They're both right. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
and unfortunately, they both can't be right because they have
exactly.
two extremely opposite opinions of what should happen.
Right.
But I will say that I loved how he recognized, I'm doing it again, aren't I?
Yes, that was very, very considerate. I did like that. So here are my very quick thoughts on how they're both wrong.
Go for it.
So number one,
actually a long list.
No, I'm making it quick, I promise.
Okay.
First and foremost, Lucas should not have kept that a surprise. That just
the idea and taking the idea to her to surprise her. And technically he did. Like technically he maybe got quotes and stuff, but he didn't start building it. He didn't have
he got
everything.
The lumber.
Did he buy it or did he just get a quote?
I think he got an order.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
So yeah. So I mean, he didn't build it.
Yeah, no, he didn't build it. But yes, that is too big of a decision. It's not a piece of jewelry. It's not an expensive honeymoon, you know, something that is fleeting. It's too much of a permanent decision to surprise somebody with that is going to be a permanent thing. So no, he should not have done that without discussing it with her. And that's where I think he's wrong. Wonderful idea. Heart was in the right place, but wrong thing to surprise her with.
Too big.
Too big.
Needs to be a partnership decision. Yeah.
Which brings me to my point with her.
Yeah, she's just assuming that he will do what she wants. That
precisely
what her needs are going to trump his needs.
Exactly.
And they didn't even bring up any of the reasons why he might want it.
No. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. She sat there and said, I don't want to live in a castle. I don't want to live in a house on a hill. I'm getting a little excited here with my pen.
Yeah. Agreed.
I don't want this. I don't want that. This is my home. And then she said, this is our home. I'm like, no, it's not. That is not your home together.
If she had never lived there with Jack, I could see it.
That would be fine.
I would still say it's not his home. Let's do something to make it his own, help him feel like he's, but an equal part of the partnership.
Yeah, are
But
you expecting Lucas to just be okay with carrying you across the threshold to the
where
same
Jack
place
carried you across
where
the
Jack carried
threshold.
you and
Yes,
going up to that bedroom that you shared with Jack? I
it
mean,
is awkward. It is
that is
awkward.
awkward.
It is awkward.
Now,
Um,
the
yeah,
whole thing about, well, if Jack can build a house on a hill, why can't Lucas? That is
totally different.
that is different because they were in a very different time of life, and that was before she lost Jack and before she relied on the entire community to help her raise her son, and they were all right there,
Yeah,
so that
completely.
two completely different areas of life.
Yes. And she also didn't have, like, I can see her point of like, this is where all my memories are of Jack, of the glimpse we had of a family. Like, this is where I can show little Jack things that happened and be like, oh yes, this happened right there. And I can absolutely see where you wouldn't want to say goodbye to those memories.
Yeah, the
But
other
how do you build new memories
yeah.
in the same exact place? Like, it's
Well, and that's my last point. We're not talking about moving to Buxton or
yeah,
Union City. We're talking about staying in Hope Valley.
yeah.
I mean, no, they probably would not be next door to Lee and Rosemary. And I think that was a very, very big thing because I totally agree with that point. Having my best friend over for dinner while our children sleep upstairs, that's a lot harder to do when there's a carriage ride involved to go across town. But we're talking about across town, not across
5 minutes.
the
Yeah,
valley.
5 minutes. You don't even need to use like a car seat. Like, they don't even have, like, it's not the same as like now where it's like, oh, I gotta bundle the baby up and pack them up and make a bag and do this, do that. It's still quite easy to get over there.
Right.
Yeah, I yeah, it goes both ways. It's a two-way street, and I'm hopeful that they address that. Um, because I want him to be happy too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if this is going to be a marriage, it's got to be fair. And no life is not fair, but we should be working very hard to help ensure the happiness of our partner. And so that is what I wish would have
I
happened.
get her being emotional in the moment. I hope it's
Oh,
followed
yes.
up with oh, now I feel kind of bad that we didn't discuss your
Yes, that is
feelings.
what I wanted her to say. I wanted to say, can we talk about this?
Yeah.
Can we discuss this?
But I almost hope that it is coming next instead, because it does, like, it's okay for her to have an emotional break. People do that. You have an emotional
Yeah, people
breakdown.
react all the time.
And so I'm okay with it happening the way it did if it's followed up with like oh, and now that I'm not emotional about it, and I can see that you're not like stuck on this is what we have to do. Let's talk about what we can do. Let's talk about your feelings. Let's talk about why you wanted to do that. And was it just because you thought that's what I wanted? Or is there a reason you want something? What can we, how can we work this out?
That is a really, really excellent point, Sarah, because a lot of times we get judged on our emotional reactions, our knee-jerk reactions. And I did it. I
Yeah.
judged Elizabeth. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. So I yes, I would really like to see it followed up. And we don't have that yet. So if it is followed up, I will be totally satisfied. But yeah, at this point in time, they're both wrong.
They're both wrong.
At this point in time, they're both wrong.
I really am getting the vibe that at least so far this season, Elizabeth's really been written as having a tough time internally, and maybe she doesn't even know it, but having that really tough time internally of letting go.
This
Like
is really happening.
It's it's really happening. And no matter what you say, like, yes, she got to the point where she could embrace Lucas and see that as her future and take off her wedding ring and move forward. And I think she's dealt with that grief enough to be in the place that she's in and being engaged to somebody else. I don't think that she's like rushed, she's definitely not rushed into anything, but like, I do think like there's a point where you're like, oh, you shouldn't be in a new relationship because you haven't dealt with that yet. I don't think she's there. I do think she's where she should be to move on. But I also think that never goes away. That grief is never over. You're never 100% through that. And I think she's dealing with that finality of, I'm getting married.
Because she was so focused on the choice before.
And I'm not going to be Elizabeth Thornton anymore.
Yeah.
This is going to be final, and I won't be Jack's wife anymore.
I will be Elizabeth Bouchard.
Like, this is a big, and I think she's okay with that. Like, I do think it's okay.
Yeah.
But I think that is a big, like, finality, and that internally she hasn't come to terms 100% with how she can honor the memory and respect the memory and still move forward.
Yeah. No, that's a really, really good point, because now that I think about it, I think you're right. She is realizing that this is really happening and this is going to be a final decision. And I don't think that she's regretting that final decision, but it's just, she has to come to terms with it.
And I think that's where this self-conscious kind of attitude is coming out, where she definitely is like questioning everything that Lucas says and does over the last several episodes. And oh, do you really still want this? Or are you still like, you still want to be in Hope Valley? You still want to be with me? Like, she seems very unsettled, but I think that's misplaced. I think she's unsettled, and so she's casting that out on things that he says and does because she's not feeling on stable ground.
There's one line that she says to Rosemary that I think kind of describes this whole situation. I think he understands that. And this is what happened when Aunt Agatha and Julie came to Hope Valley. He's happy here, I think.
Yeah.
Talk these things out.
And every time they do talk, it gets better. So keep talking. Better.
Yes.
Keep talking. You know,
that's it. Yes. Keep talking. Keep talking. Don't talk at people. Talk. You know, keep talking. Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. All right. So
we're halfway through the episode. We've covered one thing.
On a much lighter note, I just have to tell you one thing that was so adorable. So when Lucas and Elizabeth got shooed out the door by Rosemary, and the whole turnaround of, we offered to babysit, now you are offering to babysit, and we're going out to dinner. Okay.
Yeah, what just happened?
How did this happen? But
Rosemary happened.
Rosemary happened.
I know that's not what she said, but basically that's what she could have said. Rosemary happened. That's what happened.
That's a beautiful line. I am writing it down right now so I don't forget it.
That could be our title.
It should be. But Liam and Lydia were watching with me, and so he said goodnight, kissed her on the cheek, and then they walked separate ways, and Liam says, "Are they married?" And I said, "No, they're engaged." And he said, "Oh, is that why he didn't kiss her on the lips?" I said, "No, honey, they've kissed on the lips before. They're engaged to be married, so they've kissed
It's
before."
Okay. That's so sweet.
Okay, so while I'm on the subject of kids, I want to go to the children with Henry. Did you get Henry and Millie
Chills?
vibes with Henry and Sarah?
Oh gosh, yes,
That was
definitely.
so
I think even more so. And I'm sorry, the pumpkin analogy was like the most perfect thing ever.
They
I'm
need
really
their
glad they somehow
friends.
randomly had another pumpkin start to add to. I'm like, he's gonna go find a friend. I hope he can find one.
They need their friends. They like to be together. They need each other. It just it was so sweet. And to see Henry stoop down to her level, explain it all to her. It was, he kind of did a tag team teaching moment with Elizabeth right there. And that was sweet.
It was so sweet. It's hilarious. Who would have thought 9 years ago
No.
that, like, you know what would be great is Henry working with the kids.
Who would have thunk it?
Who would have thunk that? And yet that was probably one of the highlights of the night.
Yeah. Well, and I find it almost a little humorous. We didn't talk about this in the last episode,
No.
but when he got the assignment, you two are terrible liars. I'll do it though. And up he goes. Done.
Like, oh, this actually, and that really, so this project, this really does address exactly what we talked about like 2 episodes ago, is how do you find him a way to feel like he is paying his debt?
Doing penance.
How do you do that when you've also given him a get out of jail free card? So
And
I'm glad they found a way.
The writers, through Bill and Joseph, or should I say Bill and Joseph through the writers, found the way. And
They did. So that was exactly what I was like, man, I don't see how that can happen. And they did it. They did it. And it's going beautifully so far.
Well,
and
it's up and down.
It's up and down. I was going to say, and that is probably the only time I've ever heard him tell a joke in 10 years. And he did 2 in a row.
Yeah. So up and down. Well, I thought I was the project. I mean, boom, boom. The guy's lightening up.
Yeah. And I will say, I don't know that he would have felt comfortable to do that in front of anybody but Elizabeth. But I'm hopeful that it gains traction and grows, and his personality is able to open up with other people as well.
Because the character and Martin as an actor, he has invoked laughter before from viewers, but because he was saying something that was ironic or funny, he never made a joke.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally different concept.
But
because it was so unexpected, that's just what made it that much more funny.
Yeah. Up and down. I died laughing. It was almost embarrassing. I'm glad I was watching it by myself at that point.
Well, and I like how Erin played it too, where like it took her a second to get it and was like, you just told a joke.
And then how he keeps working with the kids on Saturday. He really did have a good time, even though Elizabeth left out the part about it being the whole class.
Right.
He was enjoying himself. He really loved it.
And what does that say about the town too? That all of them had to ask their parents, can we go hang out with Henry Gowan on a Saturday? And they all said yes.
They did. They all said yes because they had to get permission.
Yeah. And so like in my head, I was like, oh, is this going to be a repeat when they wanted to go camping with Frank? And everybody said no.
Oh, there was camping.
No. Everybody, right. But everybody was totally fine with their child doing that.
I didn't even think about that part. Yes. That is beautiful. That yes, all the well, I mean, when the whole town applauded him for blowing up the
Yeah.
mine,
Yeah.
you knew that he had achieved a different status in the town.
Yeah. Totally.
All right, so on this point, there are two things that I want to say about the garden boxes. So, number one, when Opal said, I didn't know I could do that. We haven't seen a whole lot from her this
Yeah.
season. And I put it right here in my notes. I really hope we get more Opal storylines. I know she's not the cute little 5-year-old anymore, but I think that would make it even better seeing her
Right.
grow up and
Yeah.
getting a storyline that kind of surrounds her a little bit.
And Emily, it was great seeing Emily a lot in this episode.
We got to see Emily a lot more this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to hear from the older girls that we've known since they were little, you know?
Yeah.
And then, so here's your question for the day. When did you do something you didn't think you could and it turned out to be a success? If you need a second, I'll do mine first.
Yeah, you better do. That's a big question.
Yeah, it is. So the first time that I remember doing something that I didn't think I could in a big way, I was a freshman in college and I was taking a tech theater class. And like, I don't do the behind the scenes. I don't do the building. I do the acting. I go on the stage. And I showed up one night to help build sets and they put a drill in my hand and I put set pieces together and they didn't fall.
Didn't kill anybody. It was great.
I didn't even injure anybody. I didn't even injure myself with the drill. So, yeah, that was the first time. That was the first time that I did something that grand that I didn't know I could. And then followed up, I've done a lot of things in the past decade or so that I didn't think I could. I mean, we kind of did a little remodel on our bathroom right here. One of the doors was falling off the cupboards, and so we said, let's just take the doors down and make it shelves. And instead of waiting for my husband, I did it.
Nice.
I took down the doors. I remodeled the house, kind of. So yeah, that was really cool.
That is very cool. Okay. I don't know if I can out of the blue come up with like something really poignant or awesome, but
I spring it on you.
You did spring it on me. But I've always been a teacher. That's like I started teaching in preschools when I was actually 16 years old.
Right.
And that was, always just what I was going to do. And never really thought much more out of the box than that. And when I had my oldest, who just started 8th grade, when she was born, I kind of had asked I worked for a large nonprofit agency that had preschools and had start agencies and stuff like that. And I basically was like, is there anything I can do, out of the classroom for a while with, a few less hours so that I can, have a more flexible schedule while I have a baby. And I was able to move into kind of a part-time position that was more administrative. And that was terrifying because I'm not great with math. I'm not great with, I don't have really strong number skills. And had never done anything else. Like, I mean, I had my college degree. I was, well versed in a lot of things, but I had never really imagined myself doing anything other than just being in the classroom. And all of a sudden I was in charge of collecting data and making spreadsheets and like doing number graphs and like trying to show like why we should have our funding.
You really
and that
stretched yourself.
I really stretched myself, and I did a pretty darn good job. I think I got, if anybody who knew me during that phase and worked with me is watching this, they're probably going to laugh their head off. I was probably way more detail oriented with all of that than I really needed to be. But I got very well known as, the person who was very, my attention to detail and making sure everything like lined up. There were other people who did a similar type of work with different aspects of our company, and we would be in meetings and like their graphs wouldn't add up to 100 like 100% and like things and to the point where people are always like, well, we know Sarah's are right. We know those are accurate. And I don't know how, being not great at math that I am, but that was just like, I really did push myself. And as much as I was more than happy to go back to the classroom when I was ready and there was the right position available, I'm really glad that I stretched myself and learned those new things and demonstrated that I have other capabilities besides just what I'm passionate about doing, and that it made me a more well-rounded person, and I can use not really the graphing skills, but I can use some of what I learned in doing that in my work now.
Yeah. There were that's so cool. That's great. There were 4 other people in the episode who stretched themselves and surprised people around them too. All right, let's name them off. We got Allie. She's getting better at the poetry, and she decided to join the poetry contest.
I don't know so much if she decided.
It was voluntold.
It's happening. But it is happening.
It was happening.
Yeah.
Angela sang in front of people.
Beautiful voice.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna cry. Did you love Joseph's face when she
I was just gonna say the best part of that entire scene was the look on Joseph's face. And when you add in the fact that that's Viv watching his actual daughter. Like that just is so amazing.
Oh, it brought back a lot of memories of my dad watching me sing. And
well, and I just loved the aspect of the father-daughter trip was really sweet, but the whole concept of what Joseph was talking about, Minnie made me see that
he's number 3. He stretched himself by taking a day off.
I need to, you have to, and then what Nathan said. Do you have Nathan's quote?
I do. I think it's good to say no so you can focus on the things you said yes to, or something to that effect. Yeah, and then I didn't take you for the philosophical type. Honestly, I surprised myself with that one.
That was honestly one of the best lines of the whole show. I loved when Nathan said that. It was so comical and yet real, true to life. Like sometimes we say stuff and it just sounds brilliant. You're like, wow, I said that.
That just came out of my mouth. What? I know. And so with being the philosopher, and then her old man can sing. Apparently, Nathan has not sung to Allie in the whole time they've been together. What's up with this?
Oh, I bet he has, and it was just more of a joking dad joke kind of comment.
The black sheep.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we had 4 people stretch themselves without the baby involved, should I say. We had 4 people involved stretching themselves in very different ways, and they surprised everyone around them.
Yeah.
So it was
I like that.
It was a beautiful growing moment for all of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
It really started with Nathan embracing taking 2 girls on a camping trip. 2 teenage girls.
To take the second one.
He was already nervous about one, and he's just like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Like, what a great girl dad.
I know. He's becoming a really great girl dad.
Like, he acknowledges that this is really hard. And if you hadn't come along, nobody would have talked to me at all.
I
Like
would have
he
been talking to
acknowledges it.
myself.
Yeah. He acknowledges it, but he also embraces that's, like it's almost one of those like take what you can get moments where it's like we only have so much time before our children are grown. And even if this isn't how I would have planned the activity or the day or the year or the trip or whatever, like take the enjoyment that you can get, do something with your children that they want to do, even if it's not what you want to do, because that's what's going to make them remember it.
Yeah.
And have a fond memory of you. Is doing those things that matter to them.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And with me, that comes out in movies. My kids want to watch movies. I'm like, I don't want to.
We watched that one 12 times in the last week.
But it means so much to them. Lydia wants to be a detective when she grows up, and she wants me to invent cases for her so that she can find things that are missing when she comes home from school. And
that sounds like so much fun and so much work.
Yeah. But speaking of girl dads, my husband, I didn't get a chance to do it today. And he had a moment when he wasn't working on a project. And so he just took a moment and he stole her unicorn. We were talking about unicorns earlier, right? He stole her unicorn and was leaving beads everywhere as clues. I'm like, you're such a good dad.
That is so sweet.
I know. All right, this has absolutely nothing to do with anything, but I found it so hysterical that I just had to say something. Did you find it at all entertaining that Lucas and Elizabeth's romantic dinner was being served by Mike Hickam?
I did. I was cracking up just a little bit. Like, how funny is that to be like, filming those scenes together?
Friend, I said because I started laughing when they walked in the saloon, and Liddy and Liam were like, what is it? I'm like, okay. And then I had to explain the lady who plays Elizabeth and the guy who plays Hickam, they are a couple in real life. So this is funny that he is serving them. I said to them, I can just see it. They call cut and he leans down and kisses her. Or makes a little quip like, don't you forget who you're coming home with, or something. It's just
too funny.
So fun to me. It's so
well, and I always just laugh at the scenes with Kevin and Kayla like that too. Especially when she was talking about being roommates with the other two girls and they were joking about, oh, we only talk about you sometimes. I was like, yeah, that's hilarious because you guys are probably in real life talking about him. Since he's your boyfriend, fiance. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It was I laughed so hard. All right. So Madeline St. John. I don't know what to make of her yet.
Yeah. Little bit still in the dark here.
Did you notice that when Bill sold her the land or they shook hands on it, the music got really foreboding?
Well, and that's the thing. So obviously they're leading up to something dramatic, right? I mean, we know that because of her phone calls that something weird is happening.
And she had another one.
She had another one
this episode. No, you don't have to remind me of my situation. I'm well aware. I'm like, what?
So that again leads me to believe something along the lines of blackmail or coercion. It does not seem like she was doing this of her own free will.
Yeah, she doesn't seem
cool. And then had second thoughts. I feel like she was coerced from the beginning. It's just the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah.
and somebody's holding something over her, whether it's information or money or.
Do you think that, once again, do you think it's the governor or somebody who works?
I mean, that still is in line with what's happening. It still could very, very, very well be. I'm trying to think, like, obviously things can happen where you didn't see it coming. But when you know the show and the characters so well, like, I'm trying to think what makes sense other than something where they're trying to buy up the town or buy a specific spot. They're trying to
gain control.
Why does she want that part of the stream? Are they going to block the stream? They're going to build something there that then blocks it from going or redirects it somewhere else? Or, I mean, what could possibly be the purpose of that? That specific property, and not being interested in other properties he's offered you. What there's something, she says it's just a stream, but clearly it's that specific plot of land.
Well, but it wasn't, she wanted town land first, but now she's happy with Bill's land because it has a stream.
No. The property she wanted that he said was the town's was not the town's. It was his. That's the way I understood all of that, is that he was making that up.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
She said, she even went to Hickam and said, there's no place else. And he goes, nope, just Bill's. And she didn't go, Bill has property too?
I don't think I don't think the plot they were looking at was town land, because Mike would have said on the tour that it was Bill's land, and he didn't.
It just, didn't that seem odd when all of a sudden he was like, that's just Bill's land, and nobody seemed surprised that he also had land he was refusing to sell her? Because he kept saying to her, I don't make the rules. It's not mine.
Well, yeah, because there was an agreement that that town land could not be sold. I'm convinced that they are two separate plots. We're gonna have to watch that part again. Yeah, we're gonna have to do some research.
Yeah, that was definitely the way I interpreted it, is that he was saying it was the town's land when it was really his. That was I'm probably wrong. I'm totally probably wrong, but that was totally the way it played in my head.
Okay, who's gonna win this one?
I feel less certain on this one.
You say you won the elopement.
Yeah, I totally won the elopement.
They have not eloped. It was mentioned.
I didn't say they would elope. I said that this was going to be a topic.
Oh, yeah. You're changing it now. I know you are.
Okay, I've won a lot. I won a lot of them last year, though. Won a lot. I don't remember any of them in this moment, but I remember winning.
Moving on. All right. I'm going to start with a line from the show. Let's see if I can make it through without crying.
Oh, gosh.
Because this is what really hit home with me. To our wonderful neighbors, thank you so much for a splendid evening. I know we're both very lucky to have you as friends. No, wait, not friends. Family. Your family. I almost made it.
Yeah. So I want to draw attention to them calling Lucas a neighbor when he doesn't live there yet. I thought that was lovely and beautiful and in keeping with the theme of the episode of, are they going to live next door or not? I thought that was very nicely done, and hopefully has the same impact on him in terms of just the community feel part of it, because that is what he's longing for ultimately, is to be part of the community, have these deep friendships, and be part of a family, because his family wasn't quite as tight-knit. And so I thought that was very beautiful aspect of it, that they didn't just say that they included the word neighbors for both of them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it seemed sweet, but it didn't seem as profound to me, because to me, everyone in Hope Valley is neighbors. I mean, they they call each other neighbors, even if they don't live close.
And I agree, but I think given the context of all of the discussion about living here or moving across town, I feel in that context, them saying neighbor really was more pointed about next door.
Yeah, no, I agree that it was a beautiful thing for Lee to say. And once again, it would have made a whole lot more sense for Lucas to ask Lee to be his best man after all of these like this. But
Agreed.
It's it's building. They just switched it. It was said first to be asking to be the best man, and now they're showing us why. Maybe.
Yes. There you go. At least we're seeing it. So
yes, because I'm sure that there have been plenty of double dates off screen, right?
Exactly.
But Elizabeth and Rosemary have truly become sisters. And
raising their babies together. I love how she said that.
But I'm not a baby. But
he sure had some poignant lines this episode.
Okay. Can I just digress for a second and say that the find of Highland was gold.
Gold.
The kid is magnificent.
Yes.
Golden. He is golden. So I'll get back to that in a second, because I do have a point about that. But that scene hit home to me so much, because that's exactly how I feel. I have this whole group of people around me who are not my friends. They're my family. And I love you, sis.
I love you.
I am speechless. I don't know what else to say about it than that. It was just so beautiful and so well played out by Cavan again. So poignant, so heartfelt. And with how long the three of them have been acting together, and then how well they've taken Chris in, you can feel the sincerity.
Yes.
And I loved it. I just thought it was, I thought it was so beautiful. It was beautiful. And resonated with me so much, because that's exactly my situation.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of Cavan.
Yes. Speaking of
definitely my favorite moment when he picked her up.
Said Precious diaper. He wants to change her diaper.
And just the way he picked her up and the way he was talking to her, and just, it was like, oh, he is a perfect daddy.
He is a perfect daddy. I remember once when I was changing Kira's diaper, she was little. She was probably 2 weeks old. And I was just talking. I was just talking to her, and I said, Aunt Cammy. Like, wait a minute. I'm not Aunt Cammy. I'm Mommy. And I almost started crying right at that moment, because I had been Aunt Cammy for so long, since I was 13 years old. And now I'm not just Aunt Cammy, I'm Mommy. So when he called himself Daddy, I went, oh, so
yeah,
so
it was so perfect. Yes, so perfect.
All right, let's go to parents for a second. So Jack, this is for my mommy, and this is for your mommy. Whoa! I mean,
I gotta say,
out of nowhere.
Yeah, with all the emotions throughout the episode, I was starting to get like just actual like, oh, are they going into postpartum depression with her? Like, and then it was almost like I forgot the storyline was going on with her mom. And then Jack said that, and I was like, oh, this is just all going back to that. Maybe there might still be some like baby blue stuff going on, but I was like, oh, are we going seriously down that
road? We're going there. We're going there. And then the preview for next week.
Can I just say
that trunk we talked about?
He knew something was going on with that trunk, and he knew not to say anything and just put it somewhere.
Yep. All right. So here's my big guess for the week.
Okay.
The music box in the preview for next week.
Mm-hmm.
The song is Lavender's Blue. What if Rosemary's mother's name is Lavender? And that's what they named the baby.
That would be a big surprise that they.
It would be a big surprise. But I can't help but think that it wouldn't have had to have
been. It wouldn't have had to have been Mom's name. It could have just been something Mom gave her, anything like that. They could still go with that for the name in tribute in some way.
But yeah, the music box plays Lavender's Blue. So what if the baby's name, regardless of whether or not it's Mom's name, I still think it might be, but what if the baby's name is Lavender? Just based on that 2-second melody that I heard in the preview,
if anything, you are the probably only person guessing that name. Because how many people would have even recognized the tune? Like that number is going to be small enough.
Okay, true.
I didn't recognize it. So it's going to be a very small percentage of people who watched the preview, picked out the song, and then to make that assumption when that's not a common name. So you might be like on something that hasn't been guessed yet.
Cool. You heard it first here.
I think you might be the first on this guess. I'm just saying.
So I'll tell you why I recognize that song so quickly. Number one, it's in a lot of piano books, and with all the students I've had through the years, I've heard it played a lot. But the remake, the live action Disney Cinderella from 2015, that was the theme song of it. And that movie is my favorite live action Disney film. It is the best remake that I have ever seen. It spoke to me on so many levels, but that's for another time.
Okay.
But it's played and sung throughout the entire movie, and I just watched it recently, so it's kind of in my brain.
It was in your head.
Yeah, but so
that gives it more context. But
yes, but
I still don't know that anybody else out there is going. I still don't think anybody else out there is going, I bet she names the baby Lavender.
Maybe I'll message Brian Bird. So am I right?
I don't know that pestering him will help.
I don't think so.
Okay, so we're still waiting on a name.
We're still waiting. I thought for sure they would name her this episode, but it's
still
not.
Waiting on a name.
We're waiting on a name. It's going to be Lavender Elizabeth Coulter.
Well, we will see. We will absolutely see.
I'm putting it as an official guess.
Sometime soon. Hopefully in the next week or two, we will see.
It's weeks in Hope Valley time. It's been 2 weeks. So
yes.
Oh, but yeah, I am hoping that we do get a name next episode.
And then just I don't want to end without touching so briefly on May. Her storyline was so sweet and so just simple truth to just address something that is a very real thing that happens with a lot of people, especially like transplants into another country.
Mm-hmm.
How do I honor my culture and embrace my new culture and my new home? And will people think less of me doing it one way over another?
I highly recommend the Hallmark movie Never Too Late to Celebrate with the Penna Vegas. because it
Mhm.
touches on this exact topic, and they are
Nice.
just so cute together.
I love everything they do together. Just they're yeah.
Yeah, so watch that and it will really resonate with both things. Yeah, I wrote down the line that Fiona said to May, please never apologize for who you are.
Yes.
And I thought that was beautiful for May to hear from a peer, not
Yes.
from a mentor, not from a stranger, from somebody, from her roommate, somebody who she interacts with all the time. I love you. I love you for who you are. Don't apologize for that.
Yeah. Everybody's story is unique. It's not ever going to be the same.
Yeah. I'm gonna get religious for 2 seconds, but I've been studying First Corinthians for the Sunday school lesson on Sunday, and it's talking about in chapters 8 through 13 about how all parts of a body are important. All people involved are important, and I cannot do without the hand. And so just because the hand isn't the eye doesn't mean it's less important, and all of that.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing right here, because everybody's important. Everybody comes together to make the town and to make the family.
Yeah. And that's why we love Hope Valley.
That's why we love Hope Valley. And that's why we love you, Hearties, because you come and listen to us. And with that, we will leave you. So go ahead and do all the sighing and stuff. Because that's what I'm going to do when I press stop. But we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting us. And Sarah, I love you.
I love you. Bye, Hearties.
We'll see you later. Bye, Hearties.